Welcome to The Savvy Patient, where we make medicine make sense.
I'm Dr. Jillian Goddard. I'm an endocrinologist and an expert in women's hormonal health with 2 decades of clinical experience.
I'm Erin Stein, a writer, editor, filmmaker, and media psychologist, but definitely not a doctor.
By looking at the data and breaking down the research, we will help you get savvy. Remember, this podcast is not meant to replace medical advice from your own doctor.
Hello, welcome to The Savvy Patient. Today, we dive into the wonderful world of chemistry and chemicals. Specifically, endocrine disrupting chemicals, because Jillian is an endocrinologist. So she should know what that means. EDCs, if you will.
It's always nice to have a little alphabet soup in every episode.
Oh my God, it's so much alphabet soup. And we haven't even gotten into the alphabet soup because there are so many different things considered an EDC, and all of them have multiple acronyms.
Yes.
The PFAs and the
BPAs
BPAs and the... Whew, it's a lot. There's BPA, BPS, BPF.
Mm-hmm.
So BP seems bad. Let's define a chemical. What is a chemical, Jillian?
Sure. A chemical is just a molecule that is made up of different atoms. That's why you study chemistry.
I asked that because I feel like we've made chemical a bad word. Like we've made the idea that if it's a chemical, it's bad. But chemicals are everywhere. Our body makes chemicals. The earth makes chemicals. Chemicals themselves are not bad.
I think it gets a bum rap because of certain types of man-made chemicals that have not always been so good for people and or animals and or the earth.
Yes, and to be clear, there are some of those. But I also think chemical now has this connotation of being man-made.
Right.
And obviously there are some, but there are plenty that are not man-made. Right. So you can't just run away from everything that's a chemical, basically.
Sadly, no. You really literally can't, because many of them are in you.
Yeah.
And need to be there.
A fun fact that I wanted to start with is formaldehyde is a chemical, and it is something that I remember a big movement to remove it from nail polish because can't have it in your nail polish. It's toxic. Oh, it's so bad. But actually, we have formaldehyde in the human body, and we eat food like bananas that contain formaldehyde, and it's just a natural byproduct of biological and chemical processes. So,
indeed. You're ready for your chemistry PhD.
Yeah, I'm really not, but I did okay in high school chemistry. The thing with chemicals is a little bit of any chemical is not going to kill you.
Right.
And it's when we get to very high levels of chemicals that they might kill you.
That's correct.
That's just the nature of everything.
It's the Goldilocks principle.
Plants are poisonous. Natural doesn't mean good. Natural doesn't mean bad. Man-made doesn't mean good, doesn't mean bad.
Yep.
And everything is toxic at high levels, even vitamin A. It's
correct.
That's another fun fact, everybody.
That's why you can't take Accutane while you're pregnant. It's too much vitamin A for the developing
Too much vitamin
fetus.
A. That's the thing we don't talk about. Vitamins. You need some. All vitamins are chemicals, everybody. Come on. Okay, so we've laid some groundwork there. But when we're talking about endocrine disrupting chemicals, what are we talking about?
Oh, we are talking about a huge category of chemicals that affect how a hormone is made or how it is released or the receptor it's supposed to bind to. Basically, in the feedback loop that is the endocrine system, an endocrine disrupting chemical can act anywhere in the loop to disrupt the feedback loop.
Right. And what are the key functions of your endocrine system, to recap?
Oh my goodness. Reproduction, metabolism, stress response, growth.
So, big things, important things.
Yeah, pretty important.
Now, you will not be shocked that fertility, I believe, is the most studied element of endocrine disruption because
Yes.
everyone's obsessed with having babies all the time.
The best evidence that certain endocrine disrupting chemicals are harmful comes from rats. We should state right off the bat that there's very little evidence in humans, and we can get into why that is later. But the best evidence we have that endocrine disrupting chemicals are harmful is that they have been shown to reduce or affect the production of sperm in rats. There's other evidence. There's definitely evidence that in rats and mice that endocrine disrupting chemicals may also affect the female reproductive system, but the earliest and best evidence is in the male reproductive system of rats.
Good times.
It should be noted, though, that when they do these studies in rats,
Yes.
they are, first of all, the effects are often in utero. So they give the mother rat the endocrine disrupting chemical while the fetal rats are developing their reproductive systems, and they give it in really high concentrations. While rats in general are a reasonable model before you do studies in humans, there are important differences between rats and humans, and so you cannot assume that every effect that something has in a rat, it will also have in a human.
I know that that's obvious, but it's not. It has to be
It's
said.
bears stating.
How do we even begin to talk about this? Because people are concerned about them
Mhm,
and they have some reason to be, I would
mhm,
say.
mhm,
And there are so many of them, and they
mhm.
are everywhere in everything.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
So I think that this is both the most important point about endocrine disrupting chemicals and the thing that is most difficult for the types of proactive type A people who like to listen to podcasts about hormonal health struggle with the most. And that is endocrine disrupting chemicals are ubiquitous in our environment. So you can not microwave your food in plastic, and you can give your baby a silicone spoon instead of a plastic spoon. And you can do all of those things and not really reduce your endocrine disrupting chemical exposure in a meaningful way, which I think is really hard for people. They want to be like, well, I use glass lock, and my kids take their stainless steel bento boxes to school, all things which we do in the Goddard home, and not be significantly reducing your EDC exposure. To me, the reason that is important is because the level at which this problem is going to need to be dealt with is not an individual one.
Right.
It's going to have to be dealt with on a global systemic level because our biggest exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals comes from our food and water supply. And, there's a giant mound of plastic floating out in the ocean, and that is why your fish that lives in the ocean has plastic in it.
Also,
And
apparently, sharks have narcotics in their systems now.
well, if you throw your medication out and it goes into a landfill and then it rains and the water runoff from the landfill goes into
Yeah.
a stream and a river.
So, this is sort of the little bit of history that I want to get in there is that no one started out saying, yeah, we're just going to spread toxic chemicals all over the world.
Right.
We invented these things and we thought they were amazing substances. And
Yeah.
no one really matched up, is this toxic or not? They were just like, I invented this plastic and it is so useful and we can do all these things with it, and didn't look at the process of making it and what kinds of stuff were released making it, or,
Yeah.
They made all these products. They all came out. They made life amazing, right?
Yeah.
So useful. And then
And
people
cheap.
started, yes, well, that's the big thing is it made things cheap, 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 cheap.
Mhm.
And now that we're in this place where it is so cheap, companies are making so much money, but now we also have studied and looked at the toxicity, and we know now they're bad, but the companies don't want to stop making money. They have
Eh,
become so ubiquitous.
Getting rid of them in many cases would be a real challenge. So,
Yes.
my industry, the medical
I was just going
industry.
to say, when I was in the hospital for my surgery, every single thing is in plastic to keep it sterile,
Yep.
right? So a million times a day, she's ripping plastic off of a plastic thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, there's
Yeah.
so much plastic in the
Yeah.
hospital.
So, before we had plastic IV bags, they used giant bottles that were glass. The tubing is plastic. It used to be rubber. Everything is wrapped and sealed in plastic to keep it sterile. Drugs, the bottles are plastic. I remember hearing a story about a family that really got rid of all the plastic in their house. They started going to like food co-ops and, like buying in bulk and doing things that most of us don't have even the resources to do. But they got rid of all the plastic, not just the single-use plastic, all the plastic in their house. And you want to know what the one thing was that they could not get rid of? Plastic pill bottles. The pharmacy did not have any other option for dispensing their medication to them. And the pharmacy is legally not allowed, if they took a bottle, like a little jar, the pharmacy is legally not allowed to dispense them their pills in that glass jar.
Yeah.
So the medical system is a huge player in this. And when we talk about an industry that is already the costs are growing exponentially, and it's an industry that we all interact with. It's a challenging problem.
It's really, I think, three things. One is the toxic sludge created from manufacturing processes,
Mm-hmm.
which usually gets dumped somewhere and then pollutes wherever they've dumped it. Then there's the products themselves and the plastics we use shedding microplastics, BPA or
Mm-hmm.
phthalates, being
Mm-hmm.
absorbed in the body from products, direct exposure. Then the third part is our trash then polluting, as you said, the ocean, the
Yep.
landfill. It's a three-part screw to the earth.
All of us and all the other living things.
Yes, we are actively polluting ourselves in multiple ways. And
Yeah.
so, as you're saying, we can individually do stuff and feel a little bit better about limiting some of our exposure, but ultimately it has to come through regulation. And I actually just read this fascinating book about serial killers and how they all lived near these industrial plants spewing toxic vapor into the air. It's a theory that it altered people's brain chemistry. It also gave lots of people cancer. Like everyone was not healthy living near these industrial plants. And there is a reason that the Clean Air Act was passed and
Mm-hmm.
that these industries were regulated and shut down. It's because it was actively killing people. And I
Right.
feel like we've simply circled back to that type of situation again.
I mean, I think it's as big as that problem. The challenge is, and I alluded to this earlier, is it's really difficult in this situation to collect data. So let me give an example of another similar situation, and then we'll circle back to why that kind of study wouldn't work in this particular case. I had an epidemiology professor who was instrumental in having lead removed from gasoline. And the study that he did was he sampled lead levels in children and then was able to correlate the lead levels with the distance that the children lived from highways.
Mhm.
So if you lived super close to the highway, on average, your lead level would be higher as a child. And the further away you lived from like a big interstate, the lower your lead levels would be. And so he could then show that it was the lead in the exhaust from cars on these highways that was raising the lead levels in the children. And by then we knew that lead was not good for kids because we had all the lead paint studies and that kind of thing. So we already had the data that showed that the lead was a problem. And we were able to tie, in this case, that a specific action and product was causing higher lead levels in these kids. We don't have the equivalent of living near the factory or living near the highway in this
Right.
situation.
Right.
Everyone is exposed. Everyone is exposed.
Yeah.
And so the challenge that scientists face and that they talk about is if you want to take this data in rats and translate it into a study in humans, you can't even find a placebo group because the background exposure is so high that you can't ethically give the treatment group enough of these chemicals to see whether there is an effect because the
Yeah.
background chemical level is too high. There's no unexposed people, and that is really limiting our ability to study these things. The other thing that's really limiting our ability to study these things in humans is rightfully, if we have a high suspicion that something is harmful, it is unethical to give it to some people and not to others and watch what happens. And so then that's when you want to start looking for natural experiments like the lead levels in the kids with the highways because they've naturally sorted themselves out into groups that are more or less exposed to the thing that we're interested in. And nobody's been able to figure out or devise a way to develop a natural experiment that would be something ethical that we could do.
Right. However, I think that these substances have been tested enough that we know they're not good
I think that the
in many
details of what they
cases.
do in humans at the levels that people are exposed to in real life, it's it's more because we talked about this already. It's not so much that we think that high levels of phthalates or BPA or whatever are good for us, but it's difficult to set the threshold because that's
Mhm.
what we need to do probably at this point is figure out what the safe threshold
Yes, except
is.
I think this is maybe the bigger issue. It's not just the phthalates, it's not just the BPA. It's everything in combination. So even if you set a level for one of them, what if you're also getting the other 10 things
Right.
during the day? There was an interesting documentary that Netflix just put out called The Plastic Detox,
Mhm.
which I watched. I told Jillian to watch it, but she's too busy, so she hasn't done it yet. But
Not yet. I will.
it was very interesting. I thought it actually did a very nice job of explaining the endocrine disruption with a nice little visual of how that works.
It's hard to
If
have visuals
anyone's,
on podcasts.
it is. But I thought they did a decent job explaining that. But they feature a scientist who has studied the effect of some of these chemicals on sperm counts
Yep.
specifically. And the documentary was interesting because she did a test case, as she says at the end that she's going to use it to try and get a grant to do an actual research study. But
Right.
she used couples who were trying to get pregnant. She tested their blood levels for specific EDCs
Yep.
and then helped them remove a lot of plastic and things out of their home, out of their lives, and then tested their levels again.
Yeah.
And of course, also tested sperm
Sperm counts
count
before
and
and
motility.
after. Yeah.
And it was very interesting, anecdotally, she did see a lot of improvement in 5 of the 6 couples
Yeah.
And some of them did go on to have babies. Can't prove that it was from this, obviously.
Right.
I found it at least reassuring that you could affect the level in your blood by removing some things from your home, at least. It's easy to feel powerless to do
Yeah.
anything. I don't think you can drive yourself crazy trying to do all the things.
I
I
think that's right.
personally have tried to remove a lot of plastic. I'm trying to buy only natural fabrics and not wear polyester because who needs to be shedding extra microplastics? When I go to the grocery store, everything's packaged in plastic. I can't buy food that does not come in plastic. So I can have glass containers at home, and God forbid, do not microwave plastic, people. We've known this for a really long time. Don't do it. It's
Or
very
leave your
bad.
plastic water bottle in the car and then drink. Yeah, I mean, we've taken similar steps in our house, and when we talk about why, my feeling is it's as much about not contributing more plastic to the plastic waste
Yes.
already in existence in the world, and sending a signal to the people selling us these things that we want non-plastic options.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I did was plastic bags. I mean, we live in a place where they've now outlawed plastic bags at the
Yeah,
grocery store
yeah.
anyway, but
So
even
do
just
we.
garbage bags at home. And again, this is something I can afford to do. That's the other piece of this. If you want to make
Mhm,
some of these changes, it usually costs money to make these changes, which is
mhm.
another insidious thing about it. But we've switched to all compostable garbage bags, so I don't not throwing more plastic bags in the landfill. I stopped using litter liners in the cat boxes because that was just another plastic bag I was
Yeah,
throwing out. I switched to a different kind of litter that's more supposedly more sustainably produced, but just that one thing made me feel like I was throwing away a lot less
yeah,
plastic, just not throwing out 4 plastic bags a week.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and when we can, we take our other plastic bags and recycle them at Target. Whether they do it or not, I don't know,
I know it's so hard to know.
but I'm trying. That's the other thing. I mean, all the recycling is kind of a sham,
A lot of it
apparently.
is, unfortunately. A lot of it just goes to the landfill.
Which apparently we were then shipping to China half the time, and they finally didn't want it anymore. And you can't just burn all our trash, everybody. That creates toxic fumes.
The real answer here is that having all these cheap items made us into voracious consumers.
Mhm.
And some of the answer is that we need to reconsider
Mm,
our attitude.
yeah. Adjust our habits.
Yeah.
I mean, fast fashion. Don't buy all the polyester shit you see on Instagram.
I
I've done it. I've done it. I've bought
need
the
to.
cheap bathing suits and cheap dresses on Instagram, and then I was like, why did I do this?
I know.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's just made out of plastic.
It's just made out of plastic.
Yeah, and it's
It's
not
not
gonna
even
last
that
long.
comfortable.
It's not that comfortable. It's not gonna last long. You don't need throwaway clothes.
Yeah.
You need clothes that will last a long time. We've gotten away from just making quality items,
Mhm.
says this old timer.
I know sometimes when I talk about this, I feel like I sound like a back in my day.
Back in my day. I mean, we also had plenty of plastic crap as kids.
Yes, we did. We did.
So much. But you get older and you realize higher quality items cost a little more money for a reason because they
Yeah.
do last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Um, and I buy a lot of vintage now. I mean, one of the best things
Yeah.
is buying vintage stuff online is so much easier. And a lot of stuff I buy now is just vintage stuff from 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marc Jacobs, early 2000s was the best, everybody.
This is an area that people are really concerned about. Every time I write about it, it's like goes to the top of the most popular list. It's interesting to everyone and it's concerning to everyone because it literally affects everyone more than so many of the other things that we might talk about from a hormonal point of view.
That's true. This is equal men, women. children,
Kids. Yeah,
probably cats and dogs. We're just not checking them.
that's correct.
We're not checking them for that spoonful of plastic in their brains,
And we don't even know what it's doing
if
there.
anything.
If anything, it could just be sitting there inert. It's not like it's in big chunks.
Right. It's not like an actual spoon.
Right. It's not like there's a tablespoon somewhere in your head,
It just
right?
generally seems not great to have that
Yeah.
much extra something in there,
Yeah, but we
not
don't
knowing what it's
know.
doing.
We don't know.
It's the not knowing.
Yeah. I think that's what gets at people so much.
Yes, but our bodies are built to process chemicals to a certain extent. We are
Yes.
built to deal with mild toxic exposures.
Mhm.
The earth gives out radon. Our food has formaldehyde. Like,
Yeah.
we process chemicals on a regular basis, including low levels of toxic chemicals on a regular basis,
Yep.
just fine. And the concern is if we're attacking ourselves on all fronts all the time with high levels of very
Right.
toxic things, then we're not going to be able to process all of them and it's going to
Exactly.
affect things.
I think that's exactly right. Even if we figure out a way to get some of this plastic out of our environment, out of our food supply, how will we know when we're done? Like, what is the level at which we could get that to that
Yeah.
we could be satisfied as a global population that we had done what we needed to do?
Yeah, we don't know that yet, but I think we got to start somewhere.
Oh, yes, you're preaching to the choir.
I saw this when I was Googling some stuff before we had this conversation. You know, the BPA in the cans thing,
Yeah,
like,
and
and
linings.
in my mind, I know that that was a bad thing. And so now you see cans that say BPA free and blah, blah,
But they're
blah.
still lined in something
I did not realize that they are still lined in plastic, just a different kind of plastic. And it
that
might
doesn't
have
have
the same
BPA in it.
problem. Like,
Right.
it could have one of the other acronyms in it. And I thought cans were better because they weren't plastic, but they're still
But they're
plastic.
lined in plastic.
They're
Yeah.
lined in plastic. So yeah, was my little existential crisis.
That's what finally got me to stop drinking Diet Coke, actually. So there
Oh,
is some data that shows that the more acidic the contents of the can, the more you leach the chemicals out of the plastic into
mm,
the food. And Diet Coke is very acidic. So are
yeah.
tomatoes, by the way. That is what finally got me to stop drinking Diet Coke, was the idea that it was like so acidic and it was leaching plastic out of the can
It wasn't
lining.
that Coke can like dissolve rust off of.
No, that didn't bother me that much.
Yes, we all pick and choose. I have my glass Pellegrino bottle
Yep.
that I'm chugging out of, so that's what I do. I buy the
Yeah.
glass Pellegrino bottles.
That's what we do now too.
It's Jillian's fault I drink Pellegrino, so it's appropriate for us to discuss that here. It's finally warm enough to go back to the farmer's market.
Yep.
Try to buy some produce not packaged in plastic.
Yep.
Um, the other thing I think about a lot is diapers. It's just so much
Mm,
plastic,
yeah.
full of organic material that then has nowhere to go to break down.
Uh, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. But I often wonder what percentage of our landfills are diapers.
Oh, that's a thought I don't even want to contemplate.
But
I
it's
know
gotta
how many
be.
diapers we used to go through when we had kids in diapers.
I know you go through so many. I've just observed other people and I'm like, oh my God, that's so much plastic waste.
Yeah.
Not that anyone wants to trade in their disposable diapers, which I totally understand. But that's a lot of plastic garbage we're creating right there
For one teeny little person.
for one tiny little person who poops constantly for a couple of years.
Yeah. Usually 3 on average.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about how many diapers it is. And I actually know personally a couple hardy souls went with cloth diapers. God bless them.
Yep.
Because that is some fortitude right there. I can't say I would have been able to do the same. Add to my list of complaints about this is the ingredients in our cosmetics are not regulated
That is
by the
correct.
FDA.
That is correct.
And as you often talk about with supplements not being regulated, what we are putting in cosmetics, which we apply directly to our skin and to our lips, which we eat,
yes, most of your lipstick
constantly.
ends up you eat pounds of lipstick over the course of your life.
And so we could, at bare bones, have some regulations over what crap is going into that, like Europe does. Europe has so many more substances that they've banned in their products. And why don't we just start there?
So,
thoughts?
My solution to this is just to order European
products, but not everyone can afford to do that.
Some of them are less expensive.
Oh, sometimes, but that's pretty rare, I would say. And then you got to pay for shipping, or you have to pay to send your child on a trip to get you some. She recently did.
That I didn't pay to send her on the trip to get the cosmetics. Let's be clear. It was a happy accident.
But you did pay for it, to be
clear. I did.
Petroleum jelly, Vaseline. Thoughts?
It is a great emollient.
Right? But is it safe to slather all over yourself?
Probably. I don't think we think it isn't.
I mean, it's
we
petroleum.
slather people in it in medicine, and it's in a lot of the things that we slather people in, like when they have open skin, like burns.
That's why I'm asking.
I think that if it was that awful, we would have data from burn victims that showed how, because when you're talking about caring for a burn victim, you're not putting it on intact skin, obviously. You're putting it on open skin, which is more direct exposure. I mean, the good news about cosmetics, lipstick that we eat notwithstanding, is that our skin actually does provide a pretty good barrier, and many of these chemicals are not getting absorbed through our skin in any significant amounts. But
that's informative. Look at us coming up with something informative right at the end. So endocrine disrupting chemicals, how are we generally getting them?
We're eating them.
Are we eating and drinking them? Is that the main way they're getting in there?
Yep.
Oh.
We get our biggest exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals is the water supply. And food, but really the water supply.
Do you like these disappointed noises? When we talk about clothing, then we talk about shedding microplastics, but it's really when you wash them in the washer.
Exactly. It's not that you're absorbing microplastics through your skin while you're wearing a polyester shirt. It's that when you wash your polyester shirt, pieces of the fabric breaks down, and pieces of the fabric go out in your wastewater from your washing machine. And then when that polyester shirt looks like hell and you're ready to get rid of it, even if you donate it someplace, most often it's still ending up in a landfill, and then it's breaking down in the landfill. And we talked about runoff from landfills and that cheery.
It's also cheery, all of it.
And so, so a lot of times, and this is again why it's so difficult to limit our exposure. A lot of our exposure from endocrine disrupting chemicals in the world is not necessarily direct exposure from the things that we are using. It's what happens to those things when we're done using them. So I just said you're not absorbing much endocrine disrupting chemical is in your cosmetics, but what do you do at the end of the day? You wash those things off and they go down the drain. And some of them probably evaporate into the air too, but you wash those things off, they go down to the drain and they end up in the wastewater. So that's why I think it's beneficial beneficial to think about reducing these things even in cosmetics, but also to remember it's not you directly necessarily putting it on your skin that is going to be the biggest effect that it's going to have. It's going to be when it ends up in the wastewater and then ends up in the water supply.
That is helpful and unhelpful at the same time.
This is why I think at this point
It's
in
contaminant.
time, right? At this point in time, we can't let the perfect become the enemy of the good.
You do what you can, but the government's gonna have to do some stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause I say the government because I don't see companies doing it on their own,
I think
right?
that's right. I think
Uh,
that's right. And
there are some
actually,
great companies out there doing some stuff. They're generally smaller companies. They're not the
right.
big conglomerates. The big conglomerates are making too much money.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to be forced to change.
Yeah. And there will need to be some systemic changes in certain types of industries like
Mhm,
medicine,
mhm.
where we look for interesting and innovative ways to reduce plastic consumption that doesn't increase costs prohibitively.
Yeah, I would be very curious what kinds of solutions some probably brilliant young people could come up with
Yeah.
to replace all of that and keep things sterile.
We have to do what we can, and vote our conscience.
Yes.
And that includes not just literally voting, which you should do, but
Everybody vote.
also,
Register to vote. Make sure you're still registered to vote. Vote.
yes, vote.
Write to your representatives. Talk to the government.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we don't want to be poisoned all the time. We need regulations, people. I know they're not popular with certain billionaires, but we need them.
For some things, they serve an important purpose.
They do. They do. Uh, yeah, I think this is one of those topics that most people actually agree on, and yet we
Mhm.
cannot get anything happening
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Also, how do you spend your dollars and,
Mhm.
sending a message with your buying power?
Yes, which sometimes feels like it doesn't make a difference, but it can. And if
Collectively, it
you
does.
share with other people and they see these other companies and categories of products taking off and making money, the bigger companies will get in on it.
I don't think we've solved anything.
I don't think we've solved any problems here. And I don't even know how much information we gave you. Some,
But it's because there's a lack of
but there's
information.
a lack of information.
I know. I always have mixed feelings about addressing this topic. I think it's an important one. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding out there. And so I think it is important to talk about. It's also just a little bit of a
Depressing.
letdown.
Do all the things you want to do and that you're comfortable with doing that you can afford to
Yeah.
do, but
Don't drive yourself crazy.
don't drive yourself insane trying to eradicate every molecule of every chemical because it's just not
It's not going to
possible.
happen. Yeah.
And so you need to fight your battles where you can.
Yeah. I think that's a,
Especially, I want to say, especially if you have kids, because I've talked about this with my friends who have kids, and so much product for children, like the majority of it is plastic.
yeah.
All these food pouches and snack pouches, all the toys,
Yeah.
all the little tchotchkes they get at birthday parties. Give them a nice water bottle that's not plastic and consider it a triumph.
When my kids were in the birthday party years, you'll love this on so many levels. We started doing paperback books as party
Mm.
favors instead of the plastic tchotchkes. So, it for a 3-year-old birthday party, a board book of our family favorite truck, it's only a few dollars a kid. It's not any more expensive. And it just felt like something that A, wasn't cluttering up people's houses and wasn't just going to get chucked out and added back to the environment. So there are choices we can make, decisions we can make, but at the end of the day, you do what you can do and
buy the kids all the books. Again, send us your questions. We wanted to do an overview, which I think we've done. Sorry it was so depressing, but I would like in the future to do more of a deep dive into some of these categories. So if you guys have specific questions about specific chemicals and or products, let us know, because then we'll know what to do some homework on. And thanks for listening. We'll try to do one less depressing next.
Your experience is real, and you deserve to feel your best.
Help us help you get savvy. Send us topics and questions using the email address askask@thesavvypatient.com.
Listen to new episodes on Wednesdays.
Follow us on all the things.
And subscribe to the Savvy Patient Substack.
Please rate, like, and subscribe. And tell all of your friends.